Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, and we have two battles for you today, because the first one is a little on the short side. This is a Tier 6 clan battle. We're observing from the perspective of the 9 clan, represented here by Kex in the T-61 destroyer. The enemy clan, HMFT, well, we're not going to be seeing too many of them during the course of this battle. Although an enemy Graf Spee is going to be spotted relatively early on, but Kex doesn't have any time to worry about that. He's rushing forward to try to claim one of the capture circles. There are no carriers in play because this is a Tier 6 clan battle. There's no radar for him to worry about. So it's a great time to be playing a destroyer. Or it would be if the enemy team were even slightly interested in actually fighting the battle. As you can see, Kex has the radio position finding skill. Is it still called that? Or is it radio location now? I don't know, they seem to change the name of that skill every month. It's pointing in the direction of the nearest enemy. And this is where things take a turn for the interesting. The enemy T-61 has just sunk the enemy Vesteros, and the enemy Graf Spee, as advertised, has just been spotted, with half of his health missing. Nobody on Kex's team was responsible for that. They've only just spotted him. They haven't had a chance to even aim at him yet, let alone start shooting. Meanwhile, the enemy T-61 is running up quite a score. He's just managed to sink and kill the enemy Trento as well, putting the enemy team on 180 points. Kex hasn't even made it inside the first cap circle yet. They've finally laid eyes on at least some of the enemy ships, all of whom seem to be missing rather large chunks of their health pools, as the enemy T-61 goes for the hat-trick and sinks the enemy La Galissonière. Quickly followed up by the enemy Monaghan, putting an end to the enemy T-61's kill streak by sinking him too. We can see some shots being fired in the middle distance there, but they're not being aimed in this direction. The enemy team are down to 60 points. If they lose one more ship, they'll be reduced to 0 points and this match will be over. It's just a question of whether or not Kex can finish capping before that happens. The good news is, he can. The bad news is, the enemy Fubuki's torpedoes slam into the enemy Graf Spee, sinking him, which means that this match is over and Kex's team, the winners, have won with 0 points to show for it. Don't worry, the enemy team did get reported, although thanks to Wargaming's privacy rules we won't know what, if anything, actually happened to them. And now for something completely different. This, on the north map in domination mode, is Hunter Lee 2600. He's playing the German Tier 7 battleship, the GneiseNO, and he is going to do absolutely nothing to dispel all of the stereotypes associated with GneiseNO captains throughout the course of this particular Tier 8 battle. What are you talking about, Jingles? Well, much in the same way as Bismarcks with yellow turrets, because the yellow turret camo skin on the Bismarck was something that you could pretty much get for free just by completing some in-game missions. It wasn't anything that you had to actually pay for with gold. So naturally, it's the most widely available Bismarck camo skin. Pretty much everybody's got it. And if the lowest common denominator has it, it's not really surprising to see people in yellow turreted Bismarcks doing remarkably stupid shit. Which is why yellow turreted Bismarcks have a bit of a reputation for being... how can we put this? Now, statistically, I'm sure that there's probably nothing to the stereotype, and yellow turreted Bismarcks don't do anything any more dumb than any other kind of Bismarck, but hey, you can't keep a good stereotype down. When it comes to the GneiseNO, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure there's more fact than fancy to the stereotypes associated with captains of this ship. And that stereotype has its genesis all the way back when the GneiseNO was first introduced, as only the second battleship in the game after the premium Scharnhorst, which was introduced just before it, to be armed with torpedoes. And so of course the first time the videos appeared on YouTube of GneiseNO captains threading the needle between two enemy ships and torpedoing them both at the same time, that was pretty much it. That became the lifelong ambition for every GneiseNO captain everywhere, to torpedo something in their battleship. Meanwhile, Hunter has been spotted, enemy North Carolina, unleashing a high explosive salvo. Of course, one hit sets a single fire, and Hunter immediately extinguishes the single fire, but it's okay, don't worry, he's no longer spotted, he's not in danger of being set on fire again. There's another stereotype for you right there, not just restricted to GneiseNOs, but battleship players in general who use their damage control the second a fire is set, regardless of what the chances are that another one, or two, or three are going to get set immediately afterwards. And since we're on the north map, there's another one that's about to make its presence known. The No Battleships sign. Yes, there's one at the other end of this chain of islands here on north as well, and Wargaming put them here for a bloody good reason. Anybody who sails around this side of these islands here on the north map is basically condemning themselves to be completely out of the fight for the best part of the next 5 minutes. I have to say, Hunter isn't really doing an awful lot to dispel the stereotypes associated with GneiseNO captains so far. However, there is a method to his apparent madness, because he's not the only ship completely ignoring the sign. There's a whole bunch of enemy ships also ignoring the sign, conveniently placed at the northern end of this island chain. And Hunter's fingers are twitching. He wants to torpedo that destroyer. Luckily, he's able to get the torpedoes away without posing a threat to the friendly New Orleans, who's slowed down and turned in to avoid the enemy torpedoes. He's got the high explosive reloaded, and he does a reasonable amount of damage to the enemy guider there. But it's the torpedoes. Wait for it. There it is. That's the gold standard right there for GneiseNO captains. I mean, any idiot can torpedo a battleship. Torpedoing a cruiser is pretty special, but torpedoing a destroyer? It doesn't get any better than that. The New Orleans has taken advantage of that very convenient smokescreen dropped by the guider, and normally I would have expected him to be radared, because you can see the enemy Atlanta in the cap circle there, chasing down the friendly Fubuki, but, well, the Fubuki was dumb enough to stay within visual range of an Atlanta, so the Atlanta didn't even need to use his radar to kill him, which is great news for the New Orleans. Although it is a guider smokescreen, so it's not going to last for too much longer. And of course, smokescreens work both ways. The New Orleans is safe for the moment, but neither he nor Hunter here can see on the far side of it until it starts to dissipate, or people start to fire and they're close enough that they can be seen. If I was in that New Orleans, I would have been taking advantage of the smokescreen to turn around and get the hell out of there. But he's sticking around to fight, and he's shooting at the Atlanta. And of course, everybody is shooting at him, including the North Carolina, with the American 16-inch heavy armor-piercing shells, who, at least in his first salvo, was firing high explosive, but while he was shooting at an angled battleship, so that's fine. Yeah, that's why you don't want to hang around at that kind of close range fighting at Atlanta. Atlantas have torpedoes. And still, everybody's shooting at the New Orleans. Well, Hunter, you may as well take advantage of this while you can. Some very optimistic torpedoes there. But still nobody's targeting him. The North Carolina was firing high explosive at the New Orleans as well, so this may be something of a trend. And he's still giving broadside to Hunter's 15-inch guns. So it was fairly inevitable that something like that was also going to happen. The bad news is that New Orleans has been sunk, but the good news is that a friendly Nagato is also ignoring the no battleship sign, and has turned up and given those 3 enemy ships something else to shoot at. Has our friend in the North Carolina learned the No, of course he hasn't. And he's still firing high explosive and still giving broadside, and is extremely lucky to not eat another huge bunch of citadels. The Fuso, however, does have the armor piercing loaded, and since neither he nor the North Carolina can shoot at the Nagato for the moment, that means that 14-inch AP, look at that. That's 14-inch Japanese armor piercing, woefully inadequate compared to American 16-inch armor piercing, and shaved off 1/3 of Hunter's health, as well as knocking out one of his gun turrets. If only the North Carolina would take the hint. But no, the North Carolina is ignoring the broadsiding Nagato, who's much closer to him on much lower health, and continues to lob high explosive in Hunter's general direction. Which I suppose Hunter really should be grateful for, because if the North Carolina was capable of thinking and breathing at the same time, Hunter would be in serious trouble. He may still be in serious trouble. Despite the death of the Atlanta, he's inside the Atlanta's torpedo range. So he powers up the engines and accelerates, hopefully to get out of the way of any torpedoes that might have been launched at him. The Nagato's in serious trouble though. He's trying to disengage, but it doesn't seem likely that he's going to be allowed to. Both he and Hunter are inflicting some serious damage on that Fuso though. Hunter just knocked out one of his gun turrets, but well, the Fuso has a lot of gun turrets. And the oh god almighty. Yeah, the North Carolina's still firing high explosive. Well, of course he is. Yeah, but Jingles, he killed the Nagato. The Nagato had less than 1,000 health and was on fire. At that point, a tier 1 cruiser could have killed the Nagato. Meanwhile, the Fuso's insistence on keeping his guns bearing on the Nagato has put him into serious trouble. He was unable to do anything other than broadside, pinned against the island. The fire finished him off. And Hunter now finds himself in the situation of being within torpedo range of both a York on one side and a North Carolina on the other side. Of course, if he's in torpedo range of the York, that means the York's in torpedo range of him. And the York does seem to be taking an awful long time to fire, which almost certainly means that he's put some torpedoes into the water. There's some lovely citadels on the York there. The North Carolina, still giving broadside, still firing high explosive. There's the York's torpedoes. There's a sort of grim inevitability to this all, really, isn't there? Yeah, I don't think launching your fighters is going to do you any good. There goes the North Carolina. Wow, nobody saw that one coming. The York very wisely deciding that it's time to get the fuck out of here. Hunter burning from a single fire. Damage control's ready to go, but the fire's about to burn itself out, so damage control ready in case the York manages to set a double fire on him. Which is possible, if the York can get the guns reloaded and set that double fire before Hunter manages to swing all of his 15-inch gun turrets around. And that would be no. So, Guider, Fuso, York, North Carolina, and all it cost them was a New Orleans and a Nagato. Yeah, I'll take those odds. Of course, now Hunter has to pay the price for coming all the way out here. There's a reason why there's a no battleship sign posted on the islands to the north and southern end of this end of the map. Now, and for the best part of the next 3 or 4 minutes, he's completely useless to his team while he repositions. And that's going to take some time. I mean, the GneiseNO is not a slow battleship. I can't remember exactly what its top listed speed is, but it's above 30 knots. It might even be as much as 32 knots. I could check, I could look at the wiki page, but whatever. I know it's a fast-ish battleship, but it's only fast on paper. I mean, yes, and I have checked, it is 32 knots. That is an impressive top speed for a battleship. But the only way for a GneiseNO to actually achieve that speed is for you to power up to full throttle and then take your hand off the keyboard for at least a minute, because that's how long it takes for the GneiseNO to actually see that kind of speed. And if, during the course of that time, you give the slightest hint of a touch on the rudder, be prepared to see that speed drop down to what is the GneiseNO's effective cruising speed, which is more like 26 or 27 knots. Again, not particularly slow, but when you're this far out of position, it's going to take you a while to become relevant to the team again. There's obviously somebody in that cap circle, however. Somebody who cannot see him because the priority target indicator isn't going off. He wants to torpedo somebody. Hunter, can you stop being a GneiseNO captain for just 1 fucking minute? He can't help it, it's in his blood. There's definitely somebody in that cap circle, it's just been flipped. It has to be the Kagero, and since German battleships don't get hydro until tier 8, this could be a big problem for Hunter. Or it could have been, if the Kagero was aware of what his surface detection range was, but, well, he wasn't, and that's the Kraken Unleashed. On the other hand, given how far out of position he is, and how far away the remaining enemy ships are, and how likely it is that the enemy carrier is about to be sunk, it's almost certain that that is pretty much it for Hunter's contribution to the battle thus far. Although he's definitely carried his weight, and while he hasn't done anything to dispel the stereotypes levelled at GneiseNO captains, he's at least made good on it. He's not completely out of it. He does get the opportunity to attempt to steal the kill on the enemy Colorado towards the end of the battle, but only a couple of his shots make it over the island. At least one strikes home, but it's not quite enough to steal the kill. That honour goes to the friendly Lexington, who finishes him off with the fires set by his high explosive bombs. And on that quite literal bombshell, that's it for this battle. Hunter Lee, 2600, doing absolutely nothing to dispel the stereotypes levelled at GneiseNO captains, but hey, at least he looked good doing it, and didn't get himself killed pointlessly in the process, so, statistically speaking, that does put him way ahead of most GneiseNO captains. Well done, Hunter. Thanks for sending that one in. Everybody else, I hope you enjoyed it, because that is it for today, and as always, stay safe, take care, and I'll catch you next time.